The model 1896 Mauser, more commonly referred to as the Broomhandle Mauser, was probably the first truly successful auto-loading pistol, especially when you consider the numbers produced and sold for militaries, law enforcement, and individuals all around the world. It was a game changer in its day because it gave the users 10 shots at his or her disposal as fast as the trigger could be pulled and could be rapidly reloaded with stripper clips, just like the Mauser rifles. It also fired a very powerful .30 caliber cartridge that was the fastest pistol round available until the .357 Magnum came on the scene. This unique design is also one of the most recognized in the world of firearms and has been carried by the likes of Winston Churchill, Lawrence of Arabia, and of course, Han Solo. The Broomhandle has proven itself to be a very rugged and dependable firearm, and many of them are still being collected and shot on a regular basis. In this series of videos, we'll show you how to disassemble, clean, lubricate, and reassemble this classic pistol. Before we can begin the disassembly, we need to ensure the pistol is not loaded. To do this, simply pull back the bolt. It should automatically lock back if the magazine is empty. Once we've physically and visually verified there's no ammunition in the chamber or the magazine, we can begin. The Mauser pistol does not require any specialized tools for disassembly due to its famous jigsaw puzzle design. All the major components interlock without screws or pins. In fact, the only screw in the whole gun is the grip screw, and it doesn't need to be removed for routine maintenance. We'll begin the disassembly by pressing down on the magazine follower to allow the bolt to close. At this point, we'll want to leave the hammer back and engage the safety. Then we'll use a small punch or even a cartridge to press in on the floor plate latch and slide the floor plate forward and off the frame. The follower, spring, and floor plate should all come out as one unit and can be left together or disassembled if necessary for cleaning. The next step is to lift up on the takedown latch and slide the entire top end off the rear of the frame. The frame can be set aside as is for cleaning. The subframe is held to the upper receiver by the spring tension in the locking system and is easily separated by simply pulling it down and away from the upper portion. For normal cleaning, we don't recommend further disassembly of the subframe unless you enjoy the challenge. However, it's a good idea to remove the takedown latch and set it aside before it falls out on its own. The next step is to remove the locking block from the upper receiver assembly by lifting it up from the rear. Now all that's left is the bolt. To remove the bolt, rotate the firing pin clockwise a quarter turn and pull it out. The firing pin spring should remain attached to the front portion. Now we can push the bolt retainer forward and pull it out. At this point, the bolt can be removed and the recoil spring can be pushed out the back with a small tool. For normal cleaning, this is as far as we need to go. However, for the more adventurous among you, we'll detail strip the subframe as well. To begin, we'll pull back slightly on the hammer and rotate the safety lever to the middle position. Now the safety can be lifted out. With the hammer still cocked, we need to carefully push up on the long leg of the sear spring and release the tension so the sear lever can be lifted from its cutout in the sear. Now the hammer can be carefully lowered by lifting the sear and controlling the hammer with your thumb. This allows the sear to be rotated all the way up and removed. The next step is to remove the rocker coupling, and that can be a little tricky as it's held under pressure by the mainspring and the plunger. Turn the assembly upside down and use a screwdriver or similar tool to depress the rocker plunger located at the front of the subframe. You may want to use a vise for this. When it's pressed in far enough, we can lift out the rocker coupling and then carefully release the tension on the mainspring. By the way, be sure to pay close attention to the reassembly instructions when replacing the rocker coupler, because it's possible to put it in backwards, and that will necessitate a trip to the gunsmith to get the gun back apart. The last step is to remove the hammer by lifting up on the hammer pivot. This piece also has the two spring legs that bear against the sear lever and the takedown latch and should come out easily, freeing the hammer for removal. We recommend leaving the extractor and the trigger in place unless replacing broken parts, as it's all too easy to do more harm than good while attempting to remove them. In our next video, we'll go over proper cleaning.